Critics of Bitcoin often refer to it as slow, ancient, and expensive. What if I told you that there's another faster, cheaper way to use it? Let's mine deep. When Bitcoin was invented in 2008, one of the main challenges was to make Bitcoin scalable enough for global adoption. Many attempted to address this, but over time, the Lightning Network emerged as the most sustainable solution. Instead of making Bitcoin's blocks bigger, which can cause centralization, the Lightning Network adds a fast layer on top of the slow, decentralized base layer, allowing for quick transactions while retaining the security of the core system. It's like a shortcut for Bitcoin transactions. Instead of recording every small detail on the main chain, which is slow and costly, it lets people swap Satoshis quickly in a separate space and only needs to settle the final result. Let's break it down. Lightning gives us instant payments. This eliminates the wait for block confirmations. Payments are incredibly swift, ranging from milliseconds to seconds. Scalability. The network can handle millions to billions of transactions per second, far outstripping traditional payment methods. Low cost. Transactions and settlements off the blockchain result in minimal fees, paving the way for instant micropayments. Cross-blockchain transactions. It allows cross-chain atomic swaps that can occur instantly off-chain with varying blockchain consensus rules. If chains can support identical cryptographic hash functions, transactions can happen across blockchains without relying on third-party custodians. So how does it work? The core functionality of the Lightning Network revolves around bidirectional payment channels. Think of it as running a tab at your favorite cafe. You and the cafe owner open a payment channel, and you both put in some Bitcoin in a shared wallet. Instead of transactioning Bitcoin every single time, you swap digital IOUs. When you're done, you settle the final tab on the main Bitcoin blockchain. The blockchain serves as an unbiased mediator, permitting limitless off-blockchain transactions. Transactions made off-chain are backed by on-chain enforceability, similarly to making multiple legal contracts but not seeking legal intervention unless necessary. If issues arise, the blockchain ensures a fixed outcome. Why is it needed? Bitcoin isn't efficient for microtransactions. Using Bitcoin for small payments, such as a dinner, can be slow and pricey. So because of Bitcoin's limitations with how many transactions it can process per second, varying fees based on demand, and the time it takes for blocks to validate, you need Lightning. In comparison, payment processors like Visa can process roughly 65,000 transactions per second. The Lightning Network goes further, processing 1 million transactions per second with smaller fees. Who came up with it? The Lightning Network's idea traces back to Satoshi Nakamoto's earliest thoughts. However, Thaddeus Drija and Joseph Poon began considering Bitcoin scaling solutions in 2014. And they presented their white paper in 2015 at a Bitcoin conference in San Francisco. Do we use it today? Of course! Lightning is all around us. You see, when you buy anything with Bitcoin, you're most likely using Lightning. It's an instantaneous settlement faster than on-chain Bitcoin transactions. And it's cheaper than the 3% fee that credit card companies charge vendors to process transactions.
If I use my GM card, I get a 5% rebate.
Thank you.
If I eat here long enough, I'll be able to buy a pickup truck.
People are going to be having to call New York and get the confirmation or, whatever it is.
El Salvador managed to integrate Bitcoin as a legal tender. Look at Chivo. Cash App uses it, and Coinbase announced that they will too. But there's actually some misconceptions that people have about Lightning. Let's clear them up. First off, the Lightning Network isn't controlled by Lightning Labs. It's a public network open to all. There isn't just one Lightning Network or client. Multiple interoperable implementations of Lightning Network softwares exist. Users can access the Lightning Network through various apps and wallets, such as Moon Wallet, Cash App, Stripe. People think that the Lightning Network is completely private. It's not yet, but it has the potential to be a brilliant privacy tool. So why should you care? The Lightning Network enhances Bitcoin's utility, making it a more viable option for everyday transactions, from buying coffee to online shopping. So for anyone invested in the future of cryptocurrency or those frustrated with the current transaction speeds and costs, this is for you. If you want a quicker and cheaper Bitcoin transaction, the Lightning Network is the solution. And don't miss David Marcus Backstage. So you just made a pretty bold statement out there that you're gonna dedicate your whole life to spending on building on Bitcoin and the Lightning Network.
That's right.
What made you do that?
Well, I think that it's important for the world to have an open, interoperable, cheap payment protocol for the internet. And we believe Lightning is that, and I believe Lightning is the only network that will actually be able to do that. And so I want to dedicate the rest of my life to actually making it happen because the world needs it.
What would you say, how would you predict the Lightning Network will be in the future?
Well, I think it'll be, like TCP/IP on the internet, but for money, and enable people to have access to stable digital money and move money around the world the same way you send a text message or an email today.
And how would you say the Lightning Network impacted the community, the Bitcoin industry?
Well, I think right now the Bitcoin industry really needs Lightning because Layer 1 is seeing more innovation with BRC20, ordinals, and a lot more things that are clogging up the mempool and are increasing the fees on Layer 1. And so you need a cheap real-time settlement layer for payments, which was the original Satoshi white paper premise, right? It was a peer-to-peer payment system, and that's what Lightning is going to enable for Bitcoin.
When was the first time that Bitcoin actually clicked for you?
2011.
Why?
Because I looked at it in late 2009, and then by 2011, I actually really went down the rabbit hole, and it clicked for me that I could send money to someone with no intermediary and no one actually messing around with my transaction in between. And seeing that transaction happen on my wallet at the time really clicked for me.
Here's a quick news recap of the week. The first anti-CBDC bill in the United States was passed out of the Financial Services Committee.
The CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act included in your markup today. It's the first anti-central bank digital currency legislative effort introduced in the United States.
The CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act was offered by Whip Tom Emmer. This bill prevents the Federal Reserve from issuing a CBDC directly or indirectly to individuals or maintaining accounts on behalf of individuals. This is a historical step in defending the nation against a never-expanding government surveillance state. And all in favor of freeing Julian Assange, say aye. Aye. Because this week a cross-party delegation of Australian politicians met with U.S. officials, members of Congress, and civil rights groups in Washington, D.C. to urge the U.S. government to abandon efforts to prosecute WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, who is accused of publishing classified U.S. military documents. We're talking about a sentence that can result to 175 years in an American maximum security prison, all for an Australian who published American documents. What happened to freedom of press? The delegation brought a letter signed by more than 60 members of parliament calling on the US to drop charges against Assange, who is fighting against extradition to the US. On the bright side, Nigeria is bullish on Bitcoin. You see, cryptocurrency usage is growing as Africa's largest economy grapples with a weakening currency and soaring inflation. Nigeria's volume of crypto transactions grew 9% year over year to $56.7 billion between July 2022 and June 2023. And Europe is tightening its grip on crypto in 2026. The European Union's 8th version of the Directive on Administrative Cooperation, or the DAC-8 law, will come into full force. This law is designed to help EU tax authorities track digital asset transactions and any efforts made from them, reducing potential tax fraud and evasion. Hear this, Stanford University will return the $5.5 million that they received in donations from FTX. This was actually a donation done directly by Joe Bankman, SBF's father, and a longtime faculty member at Stanford. This is the same man that was unhappy with his salary at FTX US, so he emailed SBF asking for more money, and then pulled the "I'm telling your mother" move and directly CC'd Barbara, SBF's mother, into the email thread. That's crazy. And the United States has officially hit a new milestone. Time to celebrate, because their gross national debt just surpassed $33 trillion, meaning it has spiked by $1.58 trillion since the debt ceiling was lifted in early June. I guess that they'll need to keep printing more of that fiat money, because look how well that's turning out. And you, remember, keep stacking that Bitcoin stack.